Okay, people, so now it's November 17th, 2021, and life goes on. Okay? My province, the province of British Columbia, Canada, a good 1/3 of it is like flooded out. Town after town after town. Okay? Up all over the place. Lots of people going through some crazy stuff right now. What I'm noticing is my walkway in the front, the foundation, the cement, right? The walkway, it's cracking with like a 1-inch crack. I'm going to measure it, people, and we're going to keep track of it, right? Because, you know, things are shifting with all this property development, ripping this up, ripping that up, boom, 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 dig, 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 trucks going back and forth. You know, it's like, anyway, I just want you to see. This is on the north wall in Auntie Shmei's room, people. It's kind of messy right now. I know. I'm in here working on it. Okay? And I'm checking on this. What you do is you take your hands and you go like this. Okay? If one of these jars popped, when did I do this? In May of 2020. And I can tell you right now, you open up this jar of turkey, and boy, oh boy, it's going to taste so, so good. All of this stuff. May of 2020. Do you see how that grease is just nicely solidified? Okay? It's not moving. That's why the jars aren't popping. Okay? This is a good room. Summertime, you know, it's a little warmer, but because it's on the north wall, it's okay. Now, I'm not putting this up on YouTube. I'm not, people. I'm not doing YouTube videos for a while. I'm going to put this up on BitChute. Okay? I'm not YouTube's bitch, okay? I don't appreciate being gang-stalked by a fucking goofball and their team. So, I don't know. There's green tomatoes. Green sliced tomatoes. Oh, you can fry those. Here. Let me take one out. Maybe I'll try and fry them. Okay? Southern fried green tomatoes that have been canned in October of 2020. That's 1 year old. Okay? Only problem is I don't have time to be frying tomatoes right now. So what we're going to do is we're just going to leave them there right now because they're nice and cold. Okay? I don't want to create myself extra work. What I'm doing is I'm bringing in these right here. You know. I made that this year for Amari. Now here's some old stuff. Okay. These are relishes I made 2018. You can see 17. Oh wow. There's something there from 2015. What is that? Pickled cauliflower. Oh, that's real good. That will still be good too, people. You trust me. Okay, I know. 2018. None of these jars have popped. I had it covered up, right? You can see on the north wall. I built shelves, makeshift shelves as best as I could. Back in those days. Have it on video. We're just touching base. So in the meantime, because I'm running out of space here, right? These jars, they're not too bad to stack on top of another jar. So I want these colder, right? This is not the time to be losing food. Okay. So it's really cold in here, people. It's like a fridge. And then, of course, we've got our white paper here, right? You can see. So if something pops, when you take your jar, you're going to see, right? Now, with all this flooding and everybody getting their houses flooded and all their basements and, you know, just the whole 9 yards, it's pretty bad. The thing about jars, even if the water came up 3 feet and then went down, as long as these jars didn't pop, you're still good to go. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? Right? You'd have to dry them off so the rims don't rust off, but as long as they don't pop, you're good. So anyway, this is what I'm doing. I'm just moving things around, putting a few more things away as much as I can. Right? Keep it nice and cold. Pastor Granny gave me these mangoes. This one's really good. So, hold on. Okay, so another reason why I show people this is because I'm trying to show you that you have nothing to be afraid of. I don't know why, for the life of me, I have rims on these jars. You're really not supposed, do you see? You're really not supposed to have rims on jars, because that is what's gonna rust out the lid. If you can see, oh, that goes all the way back there. That's nice. So I'm gonna take those out. I'm gonna take off the rims, and I'm gonna put this mango in there, right? But this stuff, this right here, oh my God, you don't know how good that is, people. And then, of course, every now and then, you have to remember when I made this, you know, every now and then, when you do your little checks, listen. Okay, that's no good, right? Obviously not, because it popped. Now, it's in vinegar, okay? This is a pickled cauliflower from 2015, and it's in vinegar, right? But even still, I wouldn't eat it, okay? So, you know, every now and then, that's why it's good to check your jars. Hold on a minute. Okay, so, do you see why you don't put your rims on? Hold on, I know it's hard to see. Right, well, at least it is for me. Do you see that rim? Oh boy, it's reflecting. Right here. Hold on. What's going on? There, do you see? Okay, do you see how it's starting now to go? Just starting. It was because of this. That could be very well why this one popped. Okay? But if you notice, it didn't leach anything. Because if it leached, you'd see it. Right? Okay? And then we've got, what is this? Oh, wow. Pre-Fukushima salmon. I had this underneath the bathroom sink. Honestly, it's not cold enough. It's going to be really good right in here. But look what I found. I'm going to bring one up. Right? This is fig spread. Coconut sugar. 2018. Nice. But I'm putting... I'm going to change this. I need to change this. Hold on. Okay, so as you can see, right, I've been giving Amari mashed potatoes with egg and salmon. So, I have salmon all over the place. I got salmon older than that. People stole the salmon from me. Anyway, this is looking pretty good. I'm pretty pleased with this, people. And then, just as a recap, fridges are cold, right? And if you notice, this shelf is up against the fridge. I mean, you have to give a little bit of breathing space in there, okay? But that also helps to insulate your shelf. So not only am I using the north wall, but I'm also using the fridge, right? Okay? And then you cover it, right? So that everything stays inside. And it's cool, cool, cool. Now, if you had that wheat in the jar in there, I'd be a little concerned about it, because jars can sweat, right? And because it's a wheat, it's not like that kind of stuff is different. You know, starts to mildew. It has the possibility of, for something like that, I'd put like wheat in here, which I actually did. I moved a box, the Triton wheat, right? It's right here, okay? Because I'm making room in here, eh? Andre and I, we eat this. This is really, really good, okay? Okay, people, it is now November 18th, 2021. I am not trying to be YouTube's bitch here, okay? You know, the thing about being a YouTuber, for as long as I've been, it's hard to give up the habit. However, people, I don't know if you've heard, I know one or two have, but my province, the province of British Columbia, Canada, is a third, I'm serious, 1/3 of the whole province has been flooded out. We're talking major disaster. And it's not over yet, people. So move over, YouTube. I'm taking back my spot that I earned with my channel. Because it would be irresponsible of me not to talk about this. Seriously. You know? Because oh God, thousands and thousands of lives have been completely disrupted. We've got a small town in the interior. Now, I haven't been taking notes, so, you know, I was talking to somebody on the phone. I think it's Princeton. Anyway, there's a small town that got flooded out. It's not just in the Fraser Valley. It's like speckled throughout the whole province, right? And it's major control routes being devastated with water saturation. That's the method, right, of attack, was the water to saturate the ground, to oversaturate the province, basically. Because not only did we get a big rainfall, but we got water coming in across the border through the Chinook River that's going over dikes. Like, I didn't even know we had dikes. And what's happening is it's all pooling up into an old lake bed, okay? Which, for the last, I don't know how many years, right, has been 40, 50, 60 years, has been farmland. Okay? So it's almost like Mother Earth is taking back what belongs to her in terms of filling up the lake. Okay? But it's destroying thousands and thousands and thousands of lives in the here and now, in the immediate, in terms of they have to evacuate, right? We've got people that have already been flooded out in Princeton, and then, because of the mudslides going on in their region, right? Nobody can get in, nobody can get out, and they have no natural gas to heat their homes, people. So you've got people sitting in wet, damp environments that the water rushed through, right? And they can't even turn on the heat because there's no gas, natural gas, because I guess it's shipped in through a pipe. So we got them over there, and then, you know, we've got people stuck in between mudslides. I think they got most of the people out of there, but there was like people in between mudslides on the highways where they just were trapped. So we've got helicopters basically flying around all over this freaking province, okay? We got them up where the mudslides are, and then we've got them in Fraser Health. Do you see how irresponsible it would be for me just to put this up alone on BitChute, just to be, so that I think that I'm not being YouTube's bitch? I don't like being mistreated, people. What YouTube staff just did with that one video by removing it, okay, on an ambiguous accusation, just reminds me that I'm their bitch and they can abuse me anytime they want. So, of course, when you're being beat by somebody, right, psychologically beaten up, physically beaten up, whatever it is, right, you know, you're either going to take the abuse and like it and think that you deserve it, and then that's why you stay, or you're going to say fuck you, and you're going to try and separate yourself from it. Okay? I tried to separate myself from YouTube for at least a couple days, right? And like, you know, right? Because I don't want to bend to their abuse. However, my province is in the middle of a fucking disaster. Now, I am not going to call it a natural disaster because, first of all, you know, energy weapons are real, okay? And being that we're in a war, right? Some kind of war, people. I mean, we know we got a psychological war going on, right? Because if you go on to BitChute and you see my last video that I uploaded that I didn't put on YouTube, you can clearly see that a lot of what I'm going through is psychological. But when it gets serious and the rubber meets the road, you can guarantee I'm going down swinging. Okay? So whatever I said in that video, I don't say it idly. However, I don't think that what's going on in my province should be just boxed in, you know, right? You know, like that abuse, you know, lock you up. I don't think it should be just locked up on BitChute because either YouTube has a point to prove or I have a point to prove, because this is much bigger than the both of us. Okay, whether it was man-made disaster and now it's become a disaster, or whether it's the earth taking back what belongs to her, okay, in terms of with the flooding and taking back the lake, okay? Taking back the lake, people. That lake was there before the people were, okay? So you have to keep that in mind, all right? I mean, maybe we're dealing with two different kind of forces here. Well, we are, right? We know it's a battle of the wills, a lot of what's going on these days. Anyway, or like God's intervention, right? Because I'm going to put this video title as When You Feel Smug. And the reason I say that is because of the reason why I'm doing this video, okay? So here we go. We've got 1/3 of my province being flooded out of their homes. And anything else that's to get in or to get out, a lot of them have been trapped in their own communities. They can't get out, okay? Because it's throughout the whole province, right? We have a lot of bush out here, people, with towns in between the trees, all right? And then you would get your highways where some of them have been devastated, right along with the railways. And I think one of them went down. There's one major railway artery that had a sinkhole or a mudslide or something, and trains derailed, fell down. Right, train cabooses. Okay, so anyway. Putting aside my pride here, okay, because, you know, putting aside my pride. So, I don't feel smug very often, people. I really don't. I'm more humble than I am a smug person, you know, right? Because that's what living in poverty provides to you, you know. You either going to rebel against it and be angry all the time, or you're going to become a humble person and just try and be grateful for the things that you have and, you know, work within your means and that kind of stuff, knowing that you're never really going to amount out to anything when it comes to wealth, okay? Or, you know, what wealth can bring, right? So in that situation, you know, I have no reason to be smug. So it's not a feeling that I'm used to, right? I know what the word means, but I don't come across it in a psychological kind of a way for myself, interpersonally, very often. I can't even think the last time in my life where I ever felt like I was smug. Well, I felt smug last night when I was working downstairs with putting away this food now. I got my last shipment of wheat in. The way things look, doesn't look like there's going to be any shipment of wheat for a long, long time. And if it is, it will be government operated. Just because of the fact of how damaged our major roadways in terms of highways are, right? It's going to take a while for professional crews to actually, you know, fix what's wrong. And this is where I want to give props to the BC public union sector in terms of being that strong province that it used to be, people. You see, when I started the foundation back in 1999, 2000, registered, blah, 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 right? In those days, we had a very strong public union sector. So much so that through their strength, even on a psychological level, right, made it possible for people like me to try and crawl out of poverty, okay? At least in some kind of way, where we felt that we had a fighting chance. Because, you know, they paved the way, right, in order for you to, if you work hard, right, you make the right choices, you don't commit no crimes, you do for the betterment of mankind, you know, the union is going to support you, okay? Well, I don't know. The government got infiltrated with a bunch of crooks, and here we are today where the public union sector basically has been, in many ways, led astray, but through disaster, they're coming together from where they started, in terms of the way Uncle John would say. Uncle John told those people he wanted to go back home from where he came from where he started. In other words, he wanted to leave the hospital and come back here to the house with his family, with the kids, with me. That's where he started before he ended up where he was, okay? But they never gave him what he wanted. They whisked him off and tucked him away like a dirty secret. Well, this is kind of where the public union sector is in this province right now, based on my experience, people, being that I'm 60 years old, and, you know, Uncle John educated me very well when he was alive. just with my own personal experiences, this is where I think we're going to find where the the British Columbia public union sector is going to come together like the good old days and show that strength, okay, to, I don't want to say build back better, because that's a whole different freaking agenda, but to come back to their strength of being a strong public union sector for the benefit of the province, including people like me, okay? To where if they can do it, I can do it, okay? If they can do what they do and everything's chugging along, then I need to jump up on that bandwagon and do what I can do and chug along, and we all rise together. That was the premise of how I founded the nonprofit. If I wouldn't have had a strong public union sector in the province of British Columbia, Canada, leading the way, people, honest to God, and with Uncle John mentoring and nattering me in my ear, I really don't think I would have ever founded the nonprofit. However, okay, I don't want to get into feeling sorry for myself, because the nonprofit doesn't really go anywhere outside of, it's a psychological thing. So being that I'm with it, right, you know, what these people are going through, whether it's HARP with energy weapons, or, you know, that kind of warfare, geoengineering, oh, you know what I'm saying, right? Because, you know, last couple of years above my house, I was getting up several, Andre seen them, I recorded it, people, several upside down rainbows. I didn't see an upside down rainbow in my whole life until the last couple of years over my house, okay? Now, they're natural phenomenons, but what struck me odd was you don't see them very often. So why we were seeing them quite regularly in terms of 2 or 3 times a year kind of makes you wonder when it never used to be like that. So besides that point, the point is these people, okay, public union sector, community groups, just people, are having to face with these crises that are like, you can't imagine, okay? Via through disaster, whether man-made or not, okay? Whether God's intervention to take back what belonged to the earth, right? Or whether through vacating, flushing out whole communities to take back the land in terms of a political system. Because once it's cleared out, you know, who owns what? How is it going to be redeveloped? Can it be redeveloped? Will they allow it to be redeveloped? Because here's the thing. For all that's going on, and this is the natural disaster part. I didn't want to keep this long, but whatever. Okay, so for all that's going on, after it's all said and done, and they're not out of the woods yet because more rains are coming, and even I'm going to leave a link to the mayor of Abbotsford, who's in control of 50% of the egg production, 50% of the egg production for all of BC, who is in control of 50% of the milk production for all of BC, to which that 50% has basically been wiped out. And what managed to survive is being moved to other farms that are trying to absorb those animals with access to no feed being able to come on to their farms to feed the animals, not to mention water. So we might end up having a lot of animals, cows, that kind of thing, dying because they've been relocated, but they're not going to be able to get fresh water. And sooner or later, they're going to die of dehydration. So we're not out of the woods, not to mention that the rains are going to start picking up in the next couple of days. And we might get another torrent, right? And whatever's flowing over the bridge from the Nooksack, right, hasn't stopped. Bridge, levee, you know, that kind of thing. along the border of the United States and Canada, right? There's something overflowing and it's pulling into that old lake bed, right? That's where Mother Nature is taking back what belongs to her, right? Well, the public union sector have been called. Seriously, they have been called to be the best that they can be, like the good old days, right? Take it back to 1999, before all this wishy-washy shit that we're going through today because of corrupt political agendas. You know, they're in the here and now. They have to deal with the emergencies as they happen, and they have to draw on their experiences, right? Because that's what they get paid for. That's why they're called professionals. They have to show leadership so that when people like me begin to falter for whatever reason, we have, I don't want to say a guiding light, but maybe we have something to grab onto so that we can ride the wind, and instead of, you know, drowning ourselves. Okay. So you know, I really want to give a shout out for everybody. I don't care what town they're in. Not that they'll ever hear this video, right? But you know, I think if there was ever a time to be the best that you can be and be proud of yourself, I would say this is the time, right? This is why you were put on the planet, to show leadership, because that's how dire of what's happened in my province in the blink of an eye. And do you want to know what my water problem was, okay, in comparison to what everybody else is going through right now? Mine is mild, people. Okay, we know every year I get flooded in my basement. We have videos of that. We know that the pipes are leaking, the gutters are leaking, and, you know, right? Anyway, my son knocking on the door, 6:30 in the morning. Yeah, get up. I was already up, right? But I heard the rain. He goes, we got trouble. It's not going to stop. And I'm like, you go get the pump. And I'm like, go get the pump. Because I have, like, the pump still to put the big pond in, right? I have the one outside for the little pond, but I can't get that one because I wired in my wires to protect the wires, right? So it's not like I can come and just start ripping shit out. This doesn't work like that. But I had to hunt for the other pump. Anyway, this water was going into the laundry room now. It was filling up in the laundry room. And it took us about an hour because the pump that I had, nothing would screw into it, and I don't know, my son said get the gray tape. So he just started taping shit up in the end, right? And we put the pump out there, and it saved us. It saved us with it because we drained it out into the street so it can go into the gutter, right? With a hose. And that was mild, people, compared. And right? And you think you got it bad. The point of me telling you is that I'm so tired of this. You know, every year I go through this shit, and right? And you feel helpless because you know it's coming, but you really don't know what to do other than to deal with it when the time comes, and you know, and like, oh my God, it rained all day. It rained all day hard, people, all day. But the pump was bailing out the water, right? So, you know, we just rode out the storm. Got windy, that kind of stuff, right? Anyway, next day or two goes by, and I'm hearing now, because I don't get out, right? And I'm hearing, right? I'm hearing that, hey, something happened in my province, like really bad, really bad. And I'm like, no, can't be. Like, this can't be, right? And it is, people. I put it at a third. A third of the province has been basically wiped out where there's civilization. Okay, that's not to mention what's going on just in the bush. Nobody's looking in the bush to see what fucking happened. Now, the reason I say that is because my house has been shifting. With all this property fucking development that they've been doing, okay, big ass trucks still, the big heavy dump trucks, I'm telling you, still going up and down the front of my house, right? Every day, almost every day, people. Okay, the ground is shifting. On my walkway in the front, it cracked open an inch. I want to record it. And my, you know, I can hear it in my floors, right? And the floorboards in the basement, right? And because of this water, you know, with this gutter, I tell my landlady, like, you know, right, it's saturating the cement, we've got trees coming up out of the roots, full-grown trees, just 3-4 houses that way, right? God forbid, people, if we have an earthquake. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, somewhere along the way, with all this water saturation that's been dumped into this province, is going to, I don't know, it's possible, because it's already happening, people. When those trees ripped up over there, right, out of the ground, that looked like they were alive, but they weren't, and they were tall trees, apparently it's because of the water saturation that's going on around here, which has been perpetual, right? And we're just starting to see more signs of it now with the bigger trees coming down, okay? And if it's like that just in my neighborhood, on my block, people, where I know for a fact that my house is shifting because of what's going on with the ground around me outside, right? And the trucks and the digging and the ripping up of trees, not to mention now trees falling down on their own, okay? I can only imagine what's happening with the ground shifting. Besides mudslides, yeah, it's more than just mudslides. That's what I'm trying to say. I think we're going to see maybe. Well, I don't think. I do. I think we're going to see. If we haven't already, see, there's been no reports of earthquakes. Okay, so you would think that we don't have any, but yet I can feel my house rumble when, you know, like over here, they had some, I don't know what the hell they were doing, but they were just going like this on a fucking road, right? You know, just, right? And then these big ass trucks, the truck will go by in my house, I can feel it, right? Just, or way over there, something happens, boom, right? And you can feel and hear the percussion of the boom, okay? I do think that for as much as the stress that's being put on the land with the water, I think somewhere something's gonna, which would equate to an earthquake. To what degree? I don't know. Hopefully not very much, but I'm suspicious. The point is, the major artery for eggs and milk in the province of British Columbia, Canada, has been decimated. They provide 50%. They tried to rescue as many animals as they could, but thousands have already died because of being drowned and just whatever. Where the rescue animals went to, there's not enough feed and water to compensate for their needs, because it's not like truckers can drive in at this point and bring the necessary feed. And there's pipelines that are broken that provide water, fresh water, I would suspect, that are broken underwater, where the water that's flowing over it is 4 to 5 feet high. So it makes it very difficult for those public union sectors who are experienced and on the job and ready to be the best that they can be. They're having to face with this shit. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, damn, you got it good with your garage. You've got nothing, absolutely nothing to complain about or to feel sorry about. Get off your feel pity sorry. Oh, woe is me, my garage flooded, you know, pity self party, right? You know, get off your pity party, right? Because if you were in that situation, having to, you know, how are they going to find pipes that are busted under 5 feet of murky, contaminated water that's still moving? So these cows, chickens or whatever, they're not out of the woods yet, people, right? And it's really, really sad. So it's got to be like the good old days where BC has a very strong public union sector, because if, you know, that's where inspiration and hope comes from, is through leadership, good leadership. And this is where we're going to see that leadership and that, you know, right? Of course, we're going to see a lot of wheeling and dealing and crooked deals and backroom deals and, you know, the property developers getting rich. And, you know, we're going to see a lot of that. But this kind of goes back to Billy Munginger, right, from Louisiana in Plaquemine Parish back in the day when the BP oil spill spilt millions and millions and millions of crude oil into the ocean, and it all washed up into his parish. And he was out in the bayous like a dirty shirt, being the president. You know, he was like a mayor, right? To Plaquemine Parish to hold to account and to make sure that his community got cleaned up with that oil, people. Like he didn't step down. He was in the bayous with the people getting dirty himself. You know, and this is kind of like one of those really bad situations. I never thought I would see a day when BC would be hit so hard. Seriously, okay? We got it good out here when it comes basically to weather. But we've got people freezing now in their homes that have been saturated with water with no access to natural gas because the pipeline and whatever roadways have blocked them in. And where we've got other people being still evacuated from their homes as the water that's going into the lake is going up and down, with the mayor of Abbotsford saying, well, that, okay, we know we can deal with it, but what's going to happen when Tuesday comes and the heavy rains come back? Because that's the prediction. That's, you know, like, people are scared. This is what I'm saying. People are scared, okay? They know. And knowing what they know, because they're there working in the trenches, right? And having to assess and plan and improvise and just do whatever it takes to get to the next fucking job, safely, that is, right? They're scared. You can see it in their faces. You know, you can see it. And I'd be scared too. But at the end of the day, they are acting within their character in terms of being that leader when it comes to a strong public union sector. Okay. That's what I founded this nonprofit on. I realize the nonprofit will probably never go anywhere in life. That's okay. I'm tired. Like, seriously, you don't know how tired I am. But what I'm seeing today is what inspired me to do what I've done for 21 years. And knowing that these are professional people that have been on the job for a long time, a good majority of them, I trust in their ability to be able to do the job, okay? I don't question their integrity at this time. I don't, you know, like, I don't think they have an ulterior motive, unlike Dr. God, Dr. Death with her orders. I'd like to see Dr. Dog. I'd like to see Dr. God, Dr. Death come in with her orders right now. And people would look at her and say, I'm busy. Can't you see? Can't you see how busy I really am? Right? But that's for another day, because they got people like me they can come after. And that's why I have a hard time being on YouTube when they start to mistreat me and abuse me and stalk me. Because, you know, it's like they think it's funny, right? That gang stalking is, I guess you could say, just entertainment. So I'm going to leave it on here now. I did a little bit downstairs with some food because I putting stuff away. So I got into my, and I mean, this is a good time just to touch on it a little bit. This video is too long, as usual. I got into my, you know, my canning jars, right? And, you know, I was checking them because, you know, they've been sitting, right? And I found 3 jars that had popped. I have 3 different jars, and I wanted to just do a little follow-up video on it in terms of how you would dispose it correctly to mitigate botulism. You don't want to spread botulism. If it's in vinegar, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Really, I wouldn't. I'd just put that in the compost. If it's got meat or vegetables, in that situation, I will take the time to boil it for 10 minutes, right? And boil the jar, just on the safe side, and the lid or whatever, right? And then chuck out whatever and wash everything, and you're good to go. If it's a jam or a sugar, like if it's a jam or a fruit with sugar in it, I wouldn't boil it. I would, again, just put it into the compost, right? Because it's the meat and the vegetables that really breed, in my opinion, okay, the botulisms, right? Botulism lives in your dirt, okay? Well, you come into botulism all the time. It's a certain kind of botulism that's toxic, right? That's why they recommend cooking your food if you make canned chicken or canned beans. Even if the jar hadn't popped and you did it yesterday or you did it 5 years ago, it is still recommended that you cook it and bring it up to a boil and then put it on a medium boil for 10 minutes, okay? And then consume the food. If the jars pop, depending on what's inside, if it's sugars, right? If it's vinegars, you can just basically put those into your compost. And I've done it. It doesn't cause no problems. If anything, the worms like it, right? And then the other stuff, I boil the jars and I boil the food and then I just discard the food. Do I need to show you that? Well, I could show you the jars, but I'm not going to walk you through the process. But in a time like this, oh yes, why am I doing this video? Because I feel smug, people. I don't feel normally smug very often. I really don't. Like I said, I can't remember the last time I ever felt smug. I'm too insecure to feel smug. Insecure people usually can't feel smug. You got to be able to be secure in order to feel smug. Well, when I was doing the food stuff yesterday, and as I'm learning, as I'm finding out about what's happened in my province, and I'm going through this food, and I know I have a fair amount of whole milk powder, something like 22 pounds, something like that. And I've got the same amount in the non-fat milk that I just put in jars. Plus I got a few old bags of non-fat milk kicking around the house, right? I don't have to worry about milk, being that 50% of the milk supply in the province has been wiped out. Because they're not even being able to ship the milk right now. A lot of these farmers that have their cows, because of the debris and everything and the damage to the roads, so they can't get the trucks out. Get the trucks in, depending on what's happening and where you need to go, right? You might be able to transfer cows from one farm to the other farm, but you can't get the milk out of the community. This is what I'm trying to say, right? So I don't have to worry about milk, okay? And the same thing with the egg powder, right? And don't forget, I get criticized. People, like, browbeat. That's what they call it, browbeating. I get browbeated for doing food prep, right? I paid a lot of money for that stuff, people. But I'm feeling smug. Like, I'm down there and I'm like, well, you don't have to worry about milk. Because I said to my son, now that I know that it's going to be harder to get eggs and they're going to be more than likely more expensive, I'm like, okay, well, you don't want to do the chicken coop right now. You don't need to be rushing around and getting chickens tomorrow. You can start working on the chicken coop in the spring. Put your application in, get your license, call up your landlord. He'd love to go get some chickens. It would make him feel good, right? And I know he'd get the best kind because he loves them, right? And he'll bring them to me. And then all I have to do is fix up the hen house area. That's all I have to do, people. It's like 3/4 done, literally, right? Matilda will find another place to have babies. I can move her out into the shed in the front if I really wanted to make a spot for her to have her babies. And she'd love it. As a matter of fact, I might even do that if I take over the hen house area. Okay? And, yeah, so I said to my son, I said, you know, I think we should be thinking maybe about getting chickens in the spring. Will you help me? Because I told him what's been going on. But because he goes out and he cuts trees, he's, oh no, Mom, the roads are open, don't worry, you know, and if it gets that bad, the government will just bring in eggs from Alberta. You know, it's the government's responsibility. Although he says, yeah, he wants eggs, but he said, like, you know, you calm down, don't go hoarding more food or food prep, right? You don't need to buy anymore. I'm not buying anymore. I'm thinking maybe to get chickens, right? Because even if I put in an order for another 22 pounds of whole egg powder, honestly, people, I don't think it can be driven across the province right now. Sure, the highways that my son is driving on right now for local work, those are open, but it's the major highways in between the provinces and out into the outskirts of the other communities within the province and in the interior and just the whole 9 yards. You know, just shut off. Shut off. But as I'm realizing, myself, that even if I went to the corner store and there was no milk, there was no eggs, right? Or you go to the grocery store and you have the same problem. You have to wait for a week for a shipment to come in from Alberta. Let's just say. Could happen. Especially after next week, people. Right? When the rains come and everything gets even more saturated. I have it. I have it. And then I realized that I was kind of smirking. Which, you know, I was being a little smug. Right? I'm like, well, I guess it's paid off what you've been doing, right? Because for all the kerfuffle out there, you're pretty good, considering everything. Your little flood was minor compared to what thousands and thousands and thousands of people are going through right now. You can still feed your grandkids, and if need be, and I'm talking all my grandkids, okay? And if need be, my kids. In terms of Tisha and, you know, and Marcane and, I mean, you know, not, right? You know, and I guess it starts with the eggs and the milk. I kind of want to do another order for the milk. At least milk. I didn't really like the way the eggs smelled, but it's whole egg, so I can understand why it would smell the way it did. The whole milk, you know, I would want to probably buy it already pre-packaged in the Mylar bags because it's extremely fine and, you know, jars get heavy, right? And if it's in a Mylar bag, they put, I guess, an oxygen absorber or something. I don't know. You do something in there. But it's just take the box, put it away, right? But I don't even think that they could get it delivered to my house. So I'm going to just hold out for a couple of months. And then see what happens. Because I can. That's the point. Because I can. Right? I'm sure we'll still have milk in the community. I'm sure we'll still have eggs in the community. To what degree, I don't know. This is the thing. Nobody really knows right now because we don't know the full extent of the damage, right? The ones that are actually on ground zero. And they're dealing with new crises as time goes by. Like, they moved the cows, they rescued the cows, but now they can't get water to a lot of these animals. They can't get feed to a lot of these animals. And it's not simply turn off the switch and turn the switch back on. It's almost like you have to get into scuba gear with underwater lights and start looking around to find the pipe where it's blowing up through like a BP oil at the bottom of the ocean. Right? And then try and fix the water pipe so that the water comes clean to the animals. But this is where they need to build in a filtration system like ASAP on local farms where even if you use gravel rocks, okay, in terms of the old school, like, you know, I bought charcoal, you know, you can do with sand, I think, right? rocks, little pebbles, right? You make your own water filtration system for a situation like this. I have enough that if the water system broke in my community and I was just left with unsterilized water from wherever that water came from, because I don't have nearly enough water on my property in terms of, I don't even have my water drums filled up yet, people, because I've been doing food storage and there's only so much I can do. I do have some water put away, but it's not enough. And, you know, it'd get me through for a few days anyway. But in terms of collecting water, I have everything that I need in order to filter it. I have everything that I need in order to filter it. I've got the charcoal. I bought a 22-pound box of charcoal. It costed me something like $139. I have the pebbles in the yard. I have the sand. I have all of that, right? Charcoal was the key, right? So, you know, I have enough to purify water from any source. That's what they're going to have to do with the farm. They're going to have to get some wine barrels bigger than wine barrels. They need to do, if it's going to get worse, it's the only way. And they're going to have to find, even if they have to bring in the charcoal on a fucking helicopter and give it to the farmer so he can build himself his own watering filter system to provide fresh water after it's been filtered and chlorinated or whatever they like to do to make water drinkable. It might come to that, people. It might come to that, okay? So, you know, in light of that, you know, I'm putting this up on YouTube, right? You know, I guess I just have to put up with the abuse, people, right? Some of us are just slaves. And if YouTube staff want to treat people like me like a fucking slave, or they think they can whip my back anytime they want, well, then, you know, then I guess I'm a slave. I'm a public slave. I'm not a public speaker. I'm a public slave, okay? But with my slavery, at least I know I'm 100% human, all right? I'm not some robot or robotoid or clone or hybrid. I'm actually human. So, you know, for all those humans out there in the trenches at ground zero, being the best that they can be under very trying times that quite possibly can get worse and worse and worse. Well, that's where the public union sector, like the good old days, with their strength, will see us through. That doesn't mean that we don't do our share and then come to find that we can be smug and then realize that, you know, like it's a sin, right? You're not supposed to be smug, right? I don't know if it's a direct sin, but it kind of makes me feel like it's a sin, right? Because, you know, if you become smug and you remain smug, that's when you are willing to cross that fine line and go into criminal activity and lose your moral compass. So that's why I don't live my life to feel smug. Although I was reminded yesterday that in light of everything, I'm like, what are you feeling? You know, my son tried to reassure my fear, but once it dawned on me that, you know, I can more than likely ride this storm, providing my house doesn't slide down even more, because the Fraser Valley opens up through an earthquake. Something's shifting out here, people. Literally. Well, then I guess in that situation, it's okay to be smug. I earned it. Right? I earned it. God helps those who helps themselves. So, if the water came in my house and flooded my basement, okay, 2 to 5 feet, and then washed away, and I was left standing around looking at everything, a lot of that food that I did, not all of it, and it's not all going to survive, but, oh, I don't know, a good half maybe, providing things don't get moved around too much, It's hard to say, you know, because I have a lot of jars. The jars would protect the food from the water, just like a can would. Right. I don't know how well those wheat buckets would hold up underwater for any length of time. I don't think they're 100% sealed from that. They might be. I don't know if any experiments have ever been done on them. But all in all, if my house was still standing, I could still feed my family, people. Yeah. And I would probably still have milk. Because I have the milk powder in the jar. And that's what makes me feel smug. But because we live in, I'm going to end it on here. But because we live in, what is that called? Trying times. You know, where we're always being stressed out. Even though I'm feeling smug, I don't feel satisfied and I'm still scared. In other words, come spring, I will more than likely be working on bringing chickens onto the property. Just as a backup. Right? And just make a good time of it. Right? Because honestly, I don't really like cleaning up after chickens and stuff, but it's good for the land, right? In terms of, what is that? Composting, right? In the compost box and that kind of stuff. And 4 birds, you know, young, 4 eggs a day. No, I mean, who wouldn't want that? If you're looking at no eggs or eggs that you can't afford to buy, right? And being that I would only need to spend minimal amounts of money in order to set up their hen house because it's already built. I just have to screen it off and raccoon proof it. That's about all I have to do, people. It already has nesting boxes, everything in it. I was making it with Andre when Andre came back from foster care. Well, we just might be sparking up that hen house yet. The milk, because I'm feeling insecure, because I'm always under trauma to one degree or another, for whatever reason, you know, I kind of want to order another bag of the whole milk, at least, in bulk, right now. I want it right now. I want to make sure I have it, considering what's gone on. But I don't know if they'd be able to deliver it. That would be the only thing that would prevent me. Or they've already run out in a space of the last 3 days in terms of their production. I can't remember where the milk came from. I don't know if it was Alberta or just in the interior of BC. I have to look for it. Right? Should be interesting to see where their milk... Yeah, I'm going to do that. So anyway, I'm going to end this video now. I'm not going to show you those jars because these videos, you know, it's annoying. And as a matter of fact, I think I have to transfer files here. These MP4s, they take up a lot of room. Yeah. And so, when a jar pops, if it's meat and vegetables, okay, or it looks spoiled inside, or whatever, before you chuck it out or flush it down the toilet, you just gently pour it into a pot. You get your water boiling. Okay? And then you pop your lid and you pour it into a pot and you don't have it like splashing, but you know, just get it on that boil. And when it comes to the boil, just turn it on to a, you know, a low boil, right? Nothing hard, nothing where it's splashing, right? And just give it a good 10-15 minutes. And then after that, you can drain it, put it in a plastic bag and chuck it out. And then the jar and the lid, okay, in that situation, you have another pot and you boil the water, right? And then you just put your lid and you boil for 10 minutes and you're good to go. You go wash your jar. That's it. Myself, if it's a pickle, like this was the cauliflower, the pickled cauliflower from 2015, only 1 jar popped. I think I brought 1 jar up to open and to taste after all this time, which I guess I'll make a YouTube safe video and do that on video for YouTube, being that I'm back. didn't take long to run me off. Anyway, you know, this is where you have to swallow your pride, right? That's ego, right? I don't want to be nobody's bitch, people. It's because I don't like being abused. But anyway, what I do, if it's a pickle, like a pickled cauliflower, or, you know, a relish, you know, a zucchini relish that maybe I did that years ago and the jar popped, you know, in that situation, I just put it into the compost. And I wash my jar normally. Same thing with jams, okay? If a jam does it, any kind of fruit with sugars, you know, they just go into the compost. I've never had a problem, right? But anytime meat, vegetables, I try and be responsible and dispose of it in the correct way. And this is what's really sad about what's going on here in terms of, you know, our major food basket when it comes to eggs and milk within the Fraser Valley, namely in Abbotsford region. The ground is going to be so contaminated with different kinds of toxins, people. And who knows how long it's going to take to get rid of it. It's almost like it's going to need a bog, a natural bog, B-O-G. A bog is where things come and the earth itself naturally neutralizes the contaminants and the toxins and, you know, the pH levels and all this other stuff to purify the water. Abbotsford needs a bog. Maybe that's what that lake is going to be, a bog. Before it will become farmland, it will have to be a bog to just to decontaminate the ground, the earth, the dirt, the environment, all of it. And that's sad. Right? I mean, good for the bog, I would think, but just overall losing that land and having to relocate, start your lives over again, you know, just all of it, right? That's just really, really sad. Anyway, you know, I just say to the public union sector in this situation, no matter who you are or where you come from, if you're in the province of British Columbia, Canada, you just hang in there like a dirty shirt, seriously, okay? Because it's your time to shine. It's like the good old days, Uncle John would say, right? This is what you trained for. This is what you went to go to school for. This is why you've been hanging on to your job for years and 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 years for, right? Now it's time to pull out those magic cards and make it happen in terms of we'll get through it, right? In terms of they're going to do a good job, they're going to show leadership, and they're going to inspire other people to not give up, right? Even though some of us are being hunted like foxes.